Thank y'all, the staff, for getting that together. I know that was I think that really special. Meant a lot to a lot of people, so that was great. We're in the middle of our department head updates. So far, we've had planning, fire department, Department of Public Works. Up next is judicial.
Tracy couldn't be here, but the reality is there's not a whole lot in terms of long-range planning. But what she wanted to present was just give you an idea of what they have been doing in 2023. As you can see, during calendar year 23, which is obviously January 1 through 12/31, they processed 2,500 cases, just a little over 2,500 cases. They disposed 2,446 cases, and we had 71 jury trial cases. So it gives you an idea of the volume that we're pushing through here. And she's, basically one person department. Just asked her to think long range. She came with some of the goals here. Obviously, continuing education for the judge. Adequate training for her staff, for herself, basically. Upgrading to the case management software, which is something we will explore. And then we're looking at what options we may have available for habitual defendants. I know recently we had some shared defendants with another court system, and how we address maybe some of the mental issues or evaluations involved with something that we shared in terms of cost with the city of Beaufort.
With drug court, old mental health court.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know that some, and the police department may be able to speak to this better than I can, there were some cases that were relocated to the solicitor's office. I think domestics, and some DUI cases, I think.
They said they want those.
Yeah. So, but I think, that's something we continue to monitor and work with the other judicial departments to discuss. And obviously, she does a really good job of making sure that people are aware of the public defender's office and the process for getting proper representation. And right now, what we're doing is working in concert with the other municipalities. So I will attempt to answer any questions. If not, I saw Tracy just walk by, and I'll yank her in there if I need to.
No, I mean, if it's working, and that's amazing, that volume, though. Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to the police department as well. Y'all are able to negotiate some things with some defendants and get those cases resolved.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Judicial Department. And up next, Best Police Department, Beaufort County. Adver. Fort Royal PD. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing?
All right, which one is
Good,
theirs?
good. Thank y'all for being here.
That's all right. All right, here we go. Trade you. All right.
Okay, let's go over some short-term goals that we've been struggling with. Oh. Is it on?
Oh, it was on standby, sorry. Thanks. So everybody knows we always struggle with maintaining and hiring officers. We graduated 3 from the academy on Friday, 3 ladies. They hit the ground running. We picked up 2 more. Andre, how many are we down right now? Still? We're still down 3.
Okay.
The goal is trying to maintain them. SROs, I've had to put those on the back burner. We've had a couple interested, but we need to take care of the road first. Then we'll put them in the schools. We have 2 potentials, but I haven't seen them come in the door yet. They're talking, but they're not. But they're interested in going into schools. We've got grants coming in. Sergeant Cadis is doing the grants. Just applied for another SRO grant, which we'll get it. Steve Raynard's in Port Royal Elementary, so he's been renewed, so he's going to stay there. So that's what we're shooting for.
What was the sheriff's program? What was he contemplating? What?
He had started to work with the school system on putting, or actually the director of, the superintendent of schools wanted an officer in every school.
Right.
Well, it's just trying to find those officers, and they wanted to start them out at 55,000 and make them on a teacher's schedule,
Okay.
which means whenever they're working, the teachers are working, the officers are working. When they're off out of school, the officers are out. So they were trying to shoot for the retirees, police retirees, to go get hired and get in the schools. But they struggle too with the same hiring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
that's
just
where,
didn't know what the status was.
that's where we are with that.
Okay.
When you see people leaving, are they going to different departments, or are they leaving the job? Are they leaving the profession?
At
Yes and yes.
50-50,
Okay.
leaving us.
Unfortunately, we lost almost our entire middle management this year,
Okay.
2023. We've got very few officers that got more than 10 years experience right now.
Okay.
And they left for different reasons. Some of them, they were given the opportunity for leadership roles and decided to go elsewhere for specialty jobs. Some just wanted to spend more time with their families.
Okay.
Burnout.
Are we doing exit interviews so we kind of know, or talk to them, stuff like that, so we can kind
We
of
do.
figure out if it's something we need to do to make it better?
None of them have, I mean, at least publicly, none of them have said anything negative about it. I mean, they all enjoyed working there, they just, don't want to do it, like, for instance, I'll give you a person, Joab Dowling left because he was making a ton of money on the side. He just, basically, the police department was getting in the way of his real career.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Even though he loved the job and everything, he just couldn't turn down the kind of opportunities that he was presented with.
And we've had a few that the spouses aren't happy with the area, so they're not gonna get a divorce, they're gonna go with the spouse. So I can absolutely see that. We just hired a young lady, and her husband's in the Marine Corps. He has 2 years stationed at Parris Island. So she will probably lose her, because he's probably not gonna stay in this area. She loves it, but he's not.
Okay.
And we just touched on the SROs. That's definitely a long-term goal. Oh, let's back up to we touched on this last year about the healthcare for upcoming town retirees.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that back on your radar. We also talked last year about additional traffic safety officer, and that's just a matter of collecting bodies to fill that position. So we haven't forgot about that. Fleet management, Andre?
Okay, well, fleet management, one thing we've got to look at, and then right now, we're pretty good to go as far as this year. Come 2025, we got 7 vehicles between now and 2025 August. We'll have,
I've been signing a lot of invoices. What's going on?
we've got
Thank you.
about 7 vehicles that's gonna fully pay off. We're getting through enterprise. So that 7 vehicles gonna pay off August of 2025. So we'll be looking pretty good, but when it comes to hiring new bodies, we need to now start looking at purchasing a vehicle with that body and all the equipment. The county is no longer supporting us with radios, so that's another $6 grand that's going into the car to fully equip the car with the radio, cameras and everything. You're looking roughly around $80,000 just for a fully equipped vehicle for an officer, in addition to hiring that officer. That's one of the big things that we're looking at, probably gonna hit about 2025. Another thing is, we talked about this probably 2 years ago at council about the radios. Trying to get all the cars with updated radios and equipment, because the ones we have in the car now, once they go down, they're not being repaired.
Right.
So we're having to replace those radios, and trying to get all of them at one time may not be beneficial for the town. However, if we can purchase maybe 5 a year and then just start adding those into the cars. As we get new cars, we are purchasing new radios with them. But the older cars we have now, we still have the older radios in them. So that's something in the future we need to look at as well.
Well, that's
Um,
a capital
one other-
expense that can be budgeted.
One other thing that I was, been researching, and I talked to, former Chief Bertolf about, was an impact fee. We get a lot of new development coming into Port Royal, but we never hit them with an impact fee. With those, new developments, we're gonna need more officers, and stuff. We can't use that money to do more officers, but we can supplement, something else that we're using money for it under capital gains, and then move that money to get equipment for officers, cars, vehicles, and that kind of release some of the burden off the town of paying for all this stuff. And it's just something I've been toying around with, and it's probably the long-term goal to try to get that implemented into the town and stuff, to see if that's something you might want to look at, probably venture around to probably help the town with some of the supplemental costs of equipment for an officer.
When you talk about putting the radios and all on the car, Captain, are you talking, what about the handhelds? Is that the same thing that we'd have to,
No,
or so we're still gonna get those? like
No,
we did?
county is not supporting us with anything. We've got to
Okay.
purchase handhelds and car radios. We, for some reason, they just decided they wasn't gonna support the municipalities anymore. It went all as far as, the maintenance on the cars. We used to have to go to first vehicle, which was held by the county, everybody take them same place. Now we have to go through, we use Firestone, which is, Enterprise, you want us to use Firestone, so we pretty much go to them for the maintenance on the vehicles. That came with a cost this first year because they went through and they looked at everything on these vehicles, so it kind of kicked the cost up a little bit, but I think it's gonna start to smooth out now, because now we got somebody that's paying attention to everything on the vehicle, brakes, tires, everything. We wasn't getting that as our first vehicles. So those are little things that with fleet management that we've got to look at that's coming up. I don't think it's gonna hit us too bad, but it's just something where it first hit, it stings, but then it goes away after a while.
You had a
So-
cruiser down, did we get that cruiser back up? The ones in the accident? The Tahoe?
The Tahoe, that one Tahoe that, our officer was in an accident in, that was totaled.
Total, okay.
We did get, what we ended up doing is getting a replacement vehicle, and we moved another Tahoe to that, officer, and we brought in another, fleet vehicle for investigation.
So if the county quit doing all that, are they doing that with the fire department too?
Did it with everybody.
So everybody,
We're strictly just
So-
county now.
but we pay county taxes,
Exactly.
and
Now,
the county,
we were still paying the bill, but they were providing services, so they weren't paying the maintenance for us. We just used them because it was a centralized location,
I think it's more.
and they had the
radio.
mechanics. Oh, the radio?
yeah, I'm
Oh,
talking about
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
radios. I was talking about the radios because the central dispatch is under the sheriff.
Correct.
Is that, and
Correct.
it's Beaufort County.
Correct.
And we're all Beaufort County. We don't get anything for the tax dollars that our citizens pay toward county taxes. I don't understand why they can't offset some of that and help us with the radios. I know, I'm
That's
looking
an
at
argument
Dan.
I've been making for
We've been
years.
doing it, I think, forever, but
Our
it's just
residents are
something.
full share tax-paying residents of Beaufort County and
You
are
don't get-
entitled to everything on an equal basis that is
Right.
provided to any other resident in Beaufort County, period.
Maybe our
And
legislature did something.
I just think that's inappropriate. I mean, it's just wrong on all bases.
And then one of the things to look at, along with these radios, we can't even go to a cheaper, brand of radio because the county
Broadband.
basically,
They mandate what we use.
Yes.
Because you will have.
But they,
it's their
they
system.
don't
Well,
wanna fund
because they
it.
got all the money to buy the
They're gonna
radios because they're
mandate.
not helping none of us, and our tax dollars are paying for it.
Correct.
Wow.
That's horrible.
So they're mandating what we use
Yes,
based on the home port that they have,
right,
that they choose to upgrade at their beck and
Right.
call,
yes.
and don't provide any financial assistance, even offset for sister departments
Do we
to
put the
use
county
that
council on
emergency
this?
dispect system.
Well,
So
this
if
is
we
a
don't
council-
upgrade,
council or
because let's just say we
legislative
can't
issue?
afford it, then how does that affect us?
PJ
We'll
doesn't
be without a
report to
radio.
county council.
Sheriff's
So you
We'll
have
have to
to.
start our own dispatch
Sheriff
center.
reports to governor.
So I said we need, this is a legislative issue then.
PJ doesn't report to the county council.
No,
He's
he's an
elected.
elected official.
Right.
He reports to people.
So it's a legislative issue then.
But he still has a budget that the county council approves.
That's true.
legislative.
That's true.
So taxpayer dollars are still going. Has anybody really sat down with PJ and talked to him, Sheriff Tanner? I'm sure you probably
It's been
have.
discussed since
We have.
before,
Ad nauseam.
For the last 5 years.
We have, and then he just sends a letter out.
Okay.
It's crazy.
I can't tell him what to do.
Wow. You
All we
really
can do
can't?
is just voice our concern.
Well, maybe we should take, okay. We carry on.
Anything else? You got it?
That's, as much as I got on
Software.
fleet management. Colonel, he's got person.
Yeah, basically, just to reiterate, we are actually up to like 28 personnel right now. 2 of them are class 3 officers, so they can't do ordinary patrol or anything. What we're lacking in, basically, because we lost our middle management, I'm working on getting instructors, which we gotta jump through all the academy hoops in order to get somebody certified. And that usually takes like a minimum of 2 years' time and grade, and then they gotta meet certain other training requirements. We're into that, hopefully within the next year, year and a half, we should have back up to instructor strength anyway, so we can start, maintaining and moving people up as we need to.
Can you, just walk me through, just so I know that, what, that class 3, class 2, like what that,
Oh.
just what that system, what that means, like, just so I.
A class 1 officer is what we are. We're
Okay.
fully sworn officers with complete arrest powers. A class 2 would be a jail officer.
Okay.
Typically not armed. And then a class 3 is like an unarmed administrative
Okay,
person. They can like serve papers, but they can't do any unsupervised arrests or take custody of people.
okay, gotcha, all right, just good to know, thank you. Yeah.
I'll touch some more on the growth and why we're trying to stay ahead of the curve there with law enforcement. Noah had actually sent this out to me probably over a year ago. But with all the growth, not residential, just apartments, we're looking at roughly 5,400 more people. And as you know, if you've driven down Grover Hill Road, you'll see that new set of apartments being built. So that's gonna add a lot of population. And then there's more to it. There's more to the growth that's already been approved and they're just waiting to build. So with that, we'll need additional investigators. We're down to 2 investigators right now, and they're up to 60 cases since January that are active. So you can just figure what they're having to wrap their heads around.
How many investigators you normally have?
3. But we put 1 back on the road to cover that. Now with these new 5 bodies, it's gonna be a few months before they're actually on the road by themselves. They've gotta go through the FTO process.
But the 3 that came out of the academy is ready to go, because they can.
They are, but they still have to complete the FTO, which is gonna take probably maybe a month or 2, probably closer to 2 months before they can go out on their own.
Okay.
Will you bring that investigator off the road then?
We're working on that.
Excuse me?
The investigator, we're trying to put back in the office.
We're doing like a selection process now, so we have them in place and we're up to speed, we can actually pull
Pull
one.
back.
Mhm. So hopefully within a month or so, we'll have that back staffed. There's been talk about putting us a substation in on the other side. We've toyed around with the ideas in years past, but now, since all the growth is going out on the other side of town toward the Broad River, we really need to see about some sort of substation And we've had some ideas about the apartments being built. Maybe we can get out with the developers or the owners and try to get a space inside their office. But that's something we can work on. We have lots of growth going on.
Yeah, you would think that might provide some value to them, kind of
Absolutely.
police officer on site.
And we had
Yeah.
talked about, we've been talking about this for a long time, but creating zones for the town, and we'll assign an officer for that zone.
Okay.
So it's more community-oriented policing to get back in the neighborhoods.
We did that years ago.
Yes.
Remember?
But then when we lose people and the town grows,
Comes off.
we can't dedicate those officers to that zone.
Well, what about the fire department out there? Is there any room that maybe we could use for now as a substation? Possibly
It's not really set up for it. I would,
an office.
right. I
It's
would-
more of a home.
I would like to
Okay.
say, we could make arrangements. I don't know how it'd be coming and going.
Right.
Right.
I was just thinking on that building and it's really in a great location
Right. For the,
for that area,
for
yeah.
the 174,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It,
But-
it was never really set up for that, and if it's not set up at the beginning, I think it'd be a lot more difficult.
And the apartment complex would probably be the better because they will have an office.
Right.
Maybe they could give us a little space in there.
Uh,
And like
Is there-
Heather-
One of the goals in the comprehensive plan is to do some small area planning for that River Cove Road area. So, that's a good reason to start pursuing that a little bit. Yeah.
What would you need to stand up a substation?
A room, Wi-Fi,
Desk, chair.
desk, chair, minimum.
Is there a storefront over there that might be available to rent?
What about that one plaza?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Customer Ross, 170,
Mm.
there's a couple little shops in there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can.
You look at it, I mean, if there's
Right.
a storefront that's available to rent.
Okay. We'll venture that way.
You say on 170 right there, Casa Rock and.
Yeah.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect, and it's not far from the fire station.
Station, yeah,
Right.
from the firehouse.
Just
Where
think
that
to
my
get some
workplace
police
is, where the station is,
presence
yeah.
out there in that area,
Yes, ma'am.
especially with everything we got going on.
I know it.
And I know we're thin, but
Good location too. Close proximity to everything, Broad River.
Yeah.
Security cameras, we've talked about this for years. And now since all the infrastructure is coming in, the internet, cable, fiber, we should be able to do it, put that on our 5-year plan.
For you guys that haven't noticed, we've upgraded all the cameras in this building as well as on the outside.
Cool.
So like cell phones. Have to be upgraded.
Is it, when you say throughout the town, is that mainly like intersections, or is that, I mean, gotcha, okay, kind of like you see,
Right. Some
Okay.
of the higher traffic areas.
okay.
Do we know what the status is of I know we have cameras that are run through the sheriff's department, but they seem to have regressed. They used to be live, but now they're very jumpy and stagnant. I'm not sure why.
It's old technology. I mean, some of the cameras have been up
forever.
15 years.
Yeah, they're like cell phones.
Just guessing,
They get
but they're old.
constantly go-
Yeah.
I don't know. And you can tell by the images if they haven't been updated
Yeah.
or upgraded.
Right. And I understand that they don't like, traffic control management comes in at 8 AM, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I'm
It
just
goes
curious,
from
because
advisory.
I had a question about the Nixles once, and I was like, why didn't we get a Nixle?
Right. We have to specifically request that, and then we have to follow up with that to make sure that, and they have to have manpower to go
Right.
put that in the Nixle.
But if they're not there till 8 AM,
Correct. It gets entered late. So we'll have an accident at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the Nixle might not go out until 8:30. Well, we've already cleared up the accident.
Yeah, what good does it do? So we need to have access between like 8 and 5, Monday through Friday?
Mm-hmm. Basically.
That's pretty inefficient.
I-
I'm just saying, I
I
know.
wish I had some answers. Yes, sir.
yeah.
Once again, that's controlled by the sheriff's office.
Do we need to, I mean, I wonder if we could explore our own method of dispersing messages, separate or independent of that. If we, we have the same people sign up for our Nixle, so that we could issue those sorts of things.
We had,
Bluffton going through the same thing that we're dealing
We
with?
had it for a short time, but then, it became a money thing.
Yeah.
Back when the Nixle was new, basically,
Yeah,
and, I set up a temporary one.
right.
It was only good for, I think, like a 6-month trial period. And,
they would only give you so many
yeah.
posts.
Yeah, I don't know if Civic Plus has a component or something that might
No grants.
do that sort of thing.
Well,
Maybe that's
I'll
something we
have
could
Doug
explore. Does the city do anything like that? Do y'all do your own Nixles?
Buford PD does.
Buford PD does.
I don't know the brand, I can find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know it caught me off guard. I was on the road at 7:30 and there was an accident. Why wasn't this?
Yeah.
And then 8 a.m. was the whatever.
Anything else
That's
on this?
That's,
I could be wrong, but that's what I was told.
no, I believe you.
Oh, I 100% no.
Well, any questions for
Anything else?
Chief of the Mayor? Any questions for
No,
Chief
sir.
of the Mayor?
Yeah, I know you've talked about, I mean, in years past, we used to do ride-alongs. I know you probably did a ride-along not too long
Done a few,
ago. I don't know if you do,
We still do them.
still do them, but the cadet program or anything like that.
Not,
I know with recruiting, it's hard.
right.
Yeah, and I've just mentioned that the fire department as well too. I've seen and did some research on it. And there's can be issues with it, but they explore programs where they just try to get into the high schools, and essentially there's like a ROTC
Right.
for police officers, just trying to identify, young men and women that have an interest in law enforcement or fire department, and kind of get them, because it's one of those jobs that from someone from the outside, and I'm looking in, that if you find there's certain people love it. Some people love being a fire defendant. Some people love being a police officer. Some people, they grow up and say, that's what I want to do. I mean, and so it's like identifying them and getting them in, and because it's so much more than a job. It's a culture. It's a family. So bringing them in and they see that, I think that's the draw. It's not just being a police officer. It's look at the family you get to join. And so I don't know if there's any option in that. I've seen some other towns just doing research on it, and they've called them Explorer programs, internships, things like that. And it's really just trying to identify kids in high school before they move off somewhere else or go somewhere else, and say, hey, if you are interested in this as a career, you can already get a little taste of it, so just something to think about.
Good idea.
The college, technical college used to have a program similar to that, Mr. Ricks used to run it.
Okay.
And, he'd send us people all the time, they do internships and stuff, and that was a great program, but, he's recently left there.
Well, the college actually shut the program down.
Okay.
TCL actually shut that program down when he left. So they don't offer the criminal justice program anymore, because the way it was set up, they still have criminal justice
Okay.
for, the college level. But they used to have one that, and he was in the process of implementing it to where they would actually be able to get a partial part of the academy done and get credited for it, and then move on to a law enforcement agency. But that got kind of shot down.
Well, isn't that is the new, I shouldn't say new, is the director of the academy advocating for that sort of thing, since they only have X number of spaces per year to train officers? Are they trying to?
No, they're holding tight to
He's
their,
holding tight.
system.
They pretty much want to be the one that train everybody, and they're not kind of releasing that stronghold.
Well,
But still,
if they control the curriculum that's taught at these technical colleges, they should be okay with a component of the training happening at the local level. It's more cost effective for all of the departments.
The first 4 weeks.
Right,
It's just videotape in the classroom where we supervise them.
right.
But after that, the 8 weeks, they won't release any of that.
Have we worked to try to get SkillBridge certified? I know Charleston PD's got the SkillBridge program tied to their police department, where You guys heard of the Skill Bridge? So the military's got this cool program where they give you up to 6 months out of your retirement or separation, 180 days, to start a new career. Now, the thing is it ties into whatever industry you want to go into, right? There's a certification that a department would have to go through to be, and it's internship positions that you take with the intent of hire on the backside of that. So this local area does a lot of Skill Bridge. These bases do, specifically the air station does, because of the Lockheed stuff, the Boeing stuff, the SkyQuest, all those contracts. I was just looking at the Skill Bridge website, and I know Charleston does it, and because we're pretty close to them, I'm pretty sure we would feel the same need that they do there, with Shaw being where Shaw is. So again, just something to consider for us to get a little bit creative with our recruiting,
Yeah,
because
we've got, messages in with the transition center over there, and they send folks to us all the time, and we have hired people that have been granted early outs, but not under that specific program.
right, and so, because that becomes important for us, right? Like when I was a sergeant major and I'm getting these emails too.
Right.
Again, there's a lot to be considered when I'm going to take this kid from making $48,000 a year, and I'm going to throw him at a problem that's $18,000 above him at this point, because he's getting no more basic allowance for housing, he's getting no more sustenance allowance, he's getting no more health insurance, all these things that we have to consider. Getting creative with these things and these programs that exist we were just out there with all of the military bases that are here representing us. They'd love nothing more than to see those Marines stay in uniform in a community that continues to serve their families. I think we just got to get creative with it, and I'd love to be a partner with you guys on recruiting. I used to be a Marine recruiter during time of war, and they come, and just to see. Because I like bags under my eyes. I'm the kind of guy that if I put my hands in my pockets, I'm doing something wrong. Like I'm in the wrong place right now.
The mayor says you can do it.
I think we can explore an opportunity here and maybe exploit it and capitalize on it.
We're going through Skill Bridge right now, and after the third or fourth call of Marines asking if we have a Skill Bridge program, and me telling them no, not at this time, said we need to do this. So Hilton Head currently does it, and they've been very successful with it.
And again, like, just to reiterate that part, when we're senior leaders are recommending the Marines for certain things, we have to take that whole host of things into consideration. Because he can very quickly just move back to Kentucky where his cost of living is going to be low and all that stuff. Skill Bridge allows them to continue on their pay, to continue on their benefits, start coming in with whatever the education system that they, or GI Bill and all that stuff starts to pay them too, and they can save up for the things that me and Ross were just talking about earlier with housing and affordableness of it, keeping our dudes and dudettes here in Port Royal, in Beaufort, in the city, and continue to serve. So
you can actually send them to Fire Academy or Police Academy with the Skill Bridge.
That's right.
Pays for their education. So
that's right. And they stay on a full paycheck from the military.
Correct.
So that doesn't get affected.
Not on Port Royal
It doesn't get affected. Their housing allowance is in place. Everything is the same.
That's similar
Oh, yeah,
to-
absolutely.
That's similar to when my son, of course, just like the job that he's on, when he goes for drill duty, his job still is paying him, which he's working on military vehicles.
Yep.
And y'all are doing it at the fire department?
We're going through the process right now. It's an in-depth process if you have to get documents and whatnot, set up webinars.
We work so good together, they didn't share that information.
You're recruiting against them.
We want to be firefighters first.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to
You're
save
the
it for the
competition.
workshop. He's like, I'm going to save it for the retreat.
Hey, it's all about,
Trying to recruit the same people.
that's right. Well, some might want to be fire, some might want to be police. I think that's a great opportunity, great thing to bring up. That's awesome.
Councilman Guerrero, that's great. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I didn't even know that was a thing, so good to hear.
I didn't either.
And it's good to have that type of knowledge on our council also.
Yep.
You go, Bubba.
Okay. Anything else for the?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I'm sure we'll see you at budget workshop as well too. When we get to the
We see
Get to
some
the money
radio
time.
stuff online.
I will get to the money time. Absolutely. Yes, sir. So, okay. So that ends the department heads. How's everybody feeling about? Just take a real quick 5-minute break. Grab another drink. And we'll come in. We've got our topic list to get
Cheat
into
on
and
them.
start going at that.
Check emails.
Yeah. So get back and call it 10 minutes. Be back and knocking out these discussions and Up next is our topic section. If you look after that, we have commissions, redevelopment commission. We have our representative from the redevelopment commission, just trying to think about his time. If y'all are okay with it, I say we just kind of bump that one up. We can do that right now. You can get here, show us what you got. If everyone's okay with that, just kind of switching the agenda up.
Redevelopment.
He's got young kids, he might be looking for a longer break.
Yeah, if you're trying to get out of here or not, but yeah, I figured it's Friday, so I figured we'd let you do your thing. Okay.
So, what do you want to know? That's a good question.
How's it going? How long have you been on the redevelopment commission?
Been part of it 2-3 months.
Okay.
Y'all, appreciate it.
You got nominated as a spokesperson?
Yeah. Like what's happening, what,
Hello. Maybe, maybe not. Something like that. So anyways, it's been a good time. Enjoy the company. Lots to talk about. What's the questions y'all have? I
so
mean,
what's going on?
so the biggest thing we're looking at right now is we got talking about what are the main pieces of property in Port Royal that have been untouched, been sitting there vacant forever. We highlighted 5 specifically that we just want to get the ball rolling. I mean, if our entire purpose is to develop the area and to grow this region, we got to find the areas that need growth and that are ripe for growth. 5 that we came up with was townhouses along the river, right there behind Ace Hardware Center. There's also an area right there that we can encourage a flagship hotel. We'd like to see that get done and pursue that. Edinburgh Square, which is, I mean, I think, me personally, that was one I was like, please, let's choose this one because to me it's it's a fantastic location. It's right on Ribault, which is what we're all focusing on, trying to reimagine Ribault. So it's got lots of frontage there, and then I think it's about 5 acres of land. So great spot to do unlimited things. I mean, 5 acres of land in Port Royal, it's hard to come by. So encourage that. Reworking of the former trailer park at West Paris and Ribault, and then Kent's Court. Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Well,
Tree challenged.
the tree is tree challenged. It's purely live oaks everywhere, and that's one of the biggest things. So, the last thing we had, which actually wasn't a piece of property, was a sewer master plan. These are kind of our 5 goals for the year. Basically, we want to say like, hey, checked one off. Let's go get together and hang out. We made one. Made one happen. So, those are the 5 we're primarily looking at. But Kent's Court and many of these, we want to bring them incentives. We would love to get with y'all, different commissions, if possible, to find incentives to make these things happen. But the biggest hang-up for all of these, and basically every vacant land in Port Royal that could be developed, is the tree ordinance. So
The Kent's Court, have you walked it? Is that all septic up there?
Yes,
Is that all?
that'd be
It's septic, but the sewer is right there.
yeah.
So it wouldn't be an issue hooking into.
No, I mean, the manhole cover one manhole cover sits right on the corner of Rebo, right there. And then it crosses Rebo where the old laundromat was, and I don't know what's in that building now.
Do you know what
Yeah,
they did
looks like
with
pillows.
that? Would they abandon those old systems in there? Would they have to be filled in, or?
They should probably be filled in. A few of them have failed and collapsed in on themselves.
Okay.
So
dangerous.
they wouldn't be usable. I don't think that DHEC would say.
No.
go ahead.
I mean, they cleaned the
They've been
property
there
up
for
pretty
umpteen
decent,
years.
I thought, from when I walked it. But it's been probably a year since I walked it. So then you say one of the biggest constraints, I don't know how you said it, but you said the tree ordinance is.
the biggest hang-up for any development.
Talk a little bit about that. Why do you say that?
Well, it's just expensive. I mean, per
If
tree.
somebody told you that, somebody said, we're not gonna develop here because of your tree ordinance.
Well, not me personally, because I just joined the redevelopment commission like 2 months ago. But multiple members have good connections and know personally the owners of these pieces of property, or have had conversations with people close to them. And basically, I mean, especially Kent's Court, I haven't counted the live oaks, but to me it looks like purely live oaks on the entire property.
Those are good many.
Well, there's,
It'd probably be over $500,000.
Jorge were at the DRB meeting a few weeks ago, and there was a guy came in from Pinckney Retreat, and he was having a tree issue. and it was a live oak.
Yeah.
It was gonna be expensive.
72,000.
More than what the property was worth, to be honest with you.
Probably more than what they bought it for.
One lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the HOA had already set the precedence in there by allowing them to cut a tree down, a live oak down before. So once, the cat's out, the cow's out of the barn at that point. But I wonder, and when we set that up, we were very intentional about our price, and we always felt like we could scale it back, and I think we set 6 or 8 months that we'd look at it or whatever. So maybe it is time, we do get serious about it.
Let us know, with these 5 properties, are they addressed in this overlay district?
Yeah, well, I guess the townhome,
I think they're,
the
that's what
Maryland
those
property
properties in that
technically is.
overlay is like.
Yeah, well, I think we identified that it
Showing
was,
it's not affecting it.
Yeah, so every property that David mentioned is part of the overlay district. So the fees would go down, but the rest of that ordinance still applies, and that's where some of the other requirements in the current tree ordinance are still gonna hinder them that we haven't discussed changing yet. And some of those items I mentioned earlier, as far as planting requirements versus fee payment requirements, so the overlay district draft recommends that the whole district is under the previous tree ordinance.
but tied to use.
And, yeah, correct,
Yeah.
And that would be for commercial uses within the district. So, yeah, the fees would be the lower amount, but it's still, there's still some hindrances in that tree ordinance.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but you gotta cut those live oaks down to Kent's Court, and that's just not.
Well, that's, they put,
It's not gonna end
the
well for
concept plan
anybody.
that we saw last saved all of the largest live oaks, the largest pin oak in Beaufort County, that kind of thing. But then the zoning requirement is 2 stories, so then you get into, okay, how much of this canopy are we cutting into, even though the actual tree is saved? So I don't know how that would have played out once everything was engineered and buildings actually designed. It was just a site layout. And granted, that was a site layout for 55 townhomes.
Right.
Max yield site plan for townhomes on that lot. So if somebody were to look at it with a little bit more of a cautious approach, and,
But they're not.
Correct, yeah.
They're not.
Yeah. But I do think
Be nice to have a
ability
business up there.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to say,
I'm still
You're not-
scratching, it doesn't pertain to Port Royal, but I'm still scratching my head over on Ladies Island where they fought all those years to keep the trees at the Publix, and then the next grocery store came in and they cut them all.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that. But that's a different, that's not what we're talking about.
Daggum.
They don't have our tree ordinance.
They don't,
and I was actually wondering too, because the construction had already started, which means they must have which must mean they must have attempted to say there was construction damage, got to remove them, but we'll replant. And you can conceivably see that happening on certain sites in the town as well, because we've already seen it. There's the oil change facility, there's a large live oak in the front of that property, and they've been giving me hell about that tree being in the way the entire time they've been building, so.
They're in the way.
Yeah.
that's right there at the entrance to the church,
Yeah,
right across
so
the
there's a
food
large live oak on the
Yep.
front and a large live oak on the back.
but it's still there.
And they came to us and said, we need to cut this live oak down. I said, no.
No.
So we're going to look to see if they can trim any of it. But that's
Well-
just one situation example.
But Mayor, you made a good point. This is in the overlay district, right? These
Right.
five
That's
properties
what
that
I
you
was,
talked
that's what I
about
was
are-
asking, yeah.
It's in the overlay district, and you are exempt from the new tree ordinance if the use you are proposing within the overlay is commercial,
Okay.
not multifamily residential, not townhouses, not apartments,
Retail office service.
retail office service.
So that might help you.
You are subject to the old ordinance, which still is stronger than most of the ordinances in Beaufort County, which is a reminder, Coastal Conservation League wrote the last ordinance.
Right.
Just a reminder,
They forgot, but I remember.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
I just
No.
want to comment real quick. It should be remembered, and I love trees, that's one of our attractions to this place. We want to save trees too. But for the guys who are putting up the money to do this stuff, if it's punishable by a fine, then it's legal for a price. And if it's legal for a price, then you're discriminating against a class who can't afford it. That's what the ordinance does in effect. It might be well-intentioned, but that's what it does. So if you say it's exempt for commercial use, then what you're saying is it's multifamily for a price. And the people who can afford that price are big box companies, not the small companies like me or Brian Singer. It's the big guys who've got millions and millions behind them who don't care. They'll spend $10,000 an inch because they don't care. They got the money. So I just would proceed with caution with understanding, like, who are you protecting with these ordinances?
Duly noted. Thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
So David, what else you got?
That's about it. I haven't been here that long, so I don't know why I'm speaking. I just got here, guys.
No, I think what they asked David to articulate is that what they're encountering with the potential redevelopment of parcels along Railroad Road is some impediment based upon the tree ordinance.
Yes, correct.
And that they've asked us to monitor those 4 or 5 properties for progress, and to also really encourage the town to push forward with the master plan for sewer.
And I mean, it really is almost from talking to multiple guys. I mean, we asked Noah last session, you know, compared to 2 years ago and 1 year ago before this tree ordinance, how many applications, permits, different things were coming in, and it's we haven't counted the difference, but it's noticeable, the difference in applications to build, to develop. So it really comes down to what do we want. Yes, slowed down substantially.
Is that a bad thing or is that a good thing?
That's the decision to be made. Do we want?
We sit here and talk about traffic and all that.
Correct. Yeah, it's like, do we want development or do we not? If we don't want development, keep the tree ordinance. If we do, something's got to change.
We just heard our police department talk about how they're, you know, with the apartments that are already approved coming in, pushing on that, and that's going to push on infrastructure, push on services. We all just left the Municipal Association of South Carolina meeting when we were up in Columbia, and I think, you know, we chatted with basically Beaufort County, all of the delegations. You heard everyone kind of dealing with the same stuff, which is rapid growth, overpopulation, and pushing those. So you're right. That is the question. Everybody wants.
That's a decision to be made.
Growing is good, and it's great that we have those options. But I mean, we're in a place where people want to develop here, build here, move here. So we don't have to say yes to everything. We don't have to green light everything. We can be selective. So, and maybe that tree ordinance, I agree, needs to be looked at. And you said you're going to bring some, you know, proposals to us. But we all talked about this place, small town, maintaining small town culture, community. How many times is that up there? So I don't think there's anything wrong with going slow. I'd rather go slow than go fast when it comes about this, because once something's built, it's built and it's there. Once people are here, they're here. Once traffic's there, it's hard. You don't undo it. You can't unring the bell. So, me personally, just coming from my point of view, I got no problem going slow. So,
I don't
that's
either.
that's just where I'm at. So,
I look at Bluffton, it was 1 square mile. I look at it now and I look at Mount Pleasant and all those places, and it's like, those places were ruined forever.
You can't,
I don't
like I
wanna
said,
ruin Port Royal.
you can't unring the bell. So,
Well, as Yogi Bear says, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded.
So I mean,
Yep.
I know these things are frustrating, and you know, there's that, but that's why we're here to make these decisions. We've got to balance the interest of all stakeholders, and you've got developers, you've got residents, you've got investors, you've got conservationists. I mean, and everybody's a stakeholder, and everybody's got an interest. And it's our job to balance that. And like I said, just wanted to put that out there from my perspective, from my point of view. And again, I think it lines up with basically what we all just kind of said goals were this morning, where, you know, we like it is a small town, it's quaint, that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's okay with, I think it's okay with if certain places are a little bit harder to develop, and certain places you got to jump through some hoops, and you got to make some accommodations, and you got to save some trees. That's okay. At the same time, you know, there is a balance, and I look forward to the recommendations that, you know, you don't want to, we can't freeze this place in you know, in a glass, you know, ball. I mean, it's going to grow and people are moving here, but we have the luxury of doing it right. We just got to take the time, and, you know, and like I said, it's frustrating, and because again, you were getting pulled in 100 different directions because there's a ton of stakeholders, but, I think we're all kind of on the same page as we stated earlier, so.
I haven't heard
I just wanted to put
anybody-
that out there, because you said that is the question, you got people, they don't want it to change, and then people want to grow and all that, and so me personally, I've got no problem with taking it slow, so.
I have one question that I haven't really heard mentioned for the tree ordinance. Now, would it make a difference and would it be helpful if because I heard the Valentine's Day meeting too. You guys did great. All y'all were there. I was so impressed. I was like, wow, you are committed. You are fantastic. So anyways, when the individuals were talking about their property, my question is there anything in the tree ordinance that would differentiate between a home builder who buys land to build a house to sell it versus a individual homeowner who buys a piece of land with hopes of building their own house on there? Because that would be, to me, that's completely two different groups of people.
How do you identify them, though? How do you know the guy's intentions? Hey, you gonna build this? You gonna sell
Well,
it,
if he's a
flip it?
GC, then
I'm just saying.
no,
They
I
have
don't
something
know.
defined. I mean, it's a 2-year obligation.
Typically, they'll have
Yeah.
a contract for a buyer, so you're not, the difference he's making is spec building versus buying for an end user. So you would know to get a contract.
I think these people bought that property, from what
And-
I recall, and their plan was to retire here and build their house, and that tree is in the middle, which is stopping them
Number F.
from
Right.
building the house. So I think that has to be a case-by-case basis, and
Yeah.
that has to be considered.
Absolutely.
So,
And I just
that's
was,
what we're looking at.
what I was wondering was, is there even an option in the tree ordinance for, it's an individual who owns their own piece of land trying to build their own house. Can we give leeway?
We'll have to look at that
Yeah.
to be sure.
Yeah.
But I'll look at that.
That was just my curiosity, because I was like, them poor people. I was
We've
like,
got the,
oh.
just
Felt
so
so
you know,
bad for 'em.
we've got the tree ordinance
Yeah.
coming up here on number F to get into, and we actually talked about it earlier as well, too, so.
So redevelopment commission, we're tied. Tree ordinance.
Well, let me just ask y'all, well, like I said, I think some of that's gonna be in that overlay district, that's gonna address some of those concerns. Also, too, I just want to ask the redevelopment commission, are y'all clear on y'all's mission from council? Do y'all know what you're doing? I hate going to meetings and
If you
everyone's just
ask
sitting there.
a different person from me, they might have the answer.
I just want to make sure that when y'all go into those meetings, y'all
Yeah.
are clear on the mission that's been given to you. And y'all
Is the
got
mission
much
to
of
develop this region and grow the development?
a certain specific strip, if I remember right. That was ours.
Geographically.
It's not just the whole, it's not just everywhere. It's a geographic, the corridor, yes.
Yes.
And you're working with,
Property frontage.
Anything outside of that,
yes.
what you just talked about is outside of your scope.
Yes.
Has nothing to do with your responsibility.
But you're in it
Okay.
with those properties.
And y'all are working on the overlay district,
They've done it. I mean, it's.
and that'll go to the planning commission, and that'll come in front of us, and we'll vote on that.
They were
Yes.
just waiting to present to
The planning
town
commission.
planning commission.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So that's moving forward.
Good.
All right.
Y'all are the
Thank you,
best.
sir. Well done.
Y'all are fantastic. Hope it did good for a 3-month rookie.
Very good.
See, like I said, you got volunteered to be the spokesperson.
I know. How did that happen? I don't know.
So, all right.
Y'all have a great day, and thank
Dude,
you.
thank you very much, man. Thanks for being on the board.
Yes.
All right. Okay, back to the topics. Up next, Municipal Election Commission.
Yes. So currently, the Municipal Election Commission, we have 3 volunteers on that have full-time jobs. They do a great job. We only see them every year and a half.
Yeah.
They'll come in. There is a standardization that's being discussed right now through the Municipal Association, where the majority of it, not much is going to change for us. But there is discussions about bringing the election commission just straight to the county. County's already running everything for us. We pay them to do that. The city has already dissolved their municipal election commission, and it's being run through the county. Folks would still come to the town to fill out their paperwork, pay for the application fee, all that kind of stuff. So there's still a little bit of play with the town, but I've worked with them for over 7 years now. I find it's a little bit difficult for them. They're going through the same process that the polling workers are doing. There's 3 exams for them to pass. Only getting called up that year and a half time frame, and then they all have the working jobs of where they have to take off for not only the election day from work where they're taking vacation time for, but a few days later for the canvassing. So if we're already paying the county election, or the county to work this for us, it might be something for us to look into. We have had some discussions with the county already just about the process. The city has shared with us what they did. The first step would just be a letter from the mayor, and then they would start working on their end of the paperwork, and we would have to pass by ordinance.
How long is that term?
I believe it's 6 years.
6 years, and it's Cuevas, Richardson, and...
He's stayed on for us, but he's actually done with his time, and he's amazing. It's been a pleasure working with him. Love to get him onto another committee.
Anthony, yes.
Yeah.
And then Richardson, I know that's her maiden name, but I forgot her married name and third.
Dr. Lawson, we have, all of them they're taking those time, and they've had a rough time doing it, so.
So they would, you think the people that do it now for us would be okay with us doing it? Okay. All right. Any questions, any thoughts on that? Yeah, you said the city.
What do you prefer?
Yeah.
It'd be easier for us as well.
All right.
If
Well, I
we
think it
were
sounds
paying
like
for it.
draft the letter up. So
Okay, sounds good.
if we need to make a formal action and vote and all that, then yes, of course. So.
Sounds good.
Okay. Up next, long-term rentals.
I'm going to start off the discussion just because we had department head information, and I had a little bit of information from our business license administrator that supplied some information. So real quick, just wanted to share that with you guys. This is in your folder as well. I know we just heard from the auditor, and we have an increase with business license fees that have come in, and the result of that is in 2022 we had 1,187 business licenses that were given out for the town. And in 2023, it rose to 1,319. So definitely, I know Codes has been helping with finding some folks, but also a lot of is going on in the town, so it shows. Short-term.
Say that again, business license?
Business license.
So that's growth.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Third.
I know we're not talking about short-term rentals, but I just wanted to just show you a little map that she did put together because this was something that you all have talked about of an interest of knowing. In 2022, we had 83 short-term rentals. In 2023, we had a total of 102 short-term rentals. I know it's a little bit difficult to see. I'll come up here just to point these areas out. The vast majority, you'll see in this area right here, 67 short-term rentals are located in the downtown region. 34 over here, 41 kind of still a little downtown, but more, Lenora, Drayton, and all that kind of stuff. 23 going over the bridge, 2, 14, and 12.
12 and that's Shadowless?
Yes.
It should be noted that the whole country saw this type of trend of short-term rental growth.
So, and I'll just kind of kick off this conversation. We've been thinking about it a lot. We spoke about it, when we sent out that letter, and we all know what happened after that. So, my thoughts, and like I said, y'all can just chime in after I say this. Long-term rentals, the way I look at it, again, going back to this, we talk about community. We want people to live here. We want people to work here. We want people to raise families here. We want people to start businesses here. That is obviously what we all see when we think about Port Royal. So when it comes to a long-term rental, the last thing I want to do is make that more difficult and erroneous task on that landlord that decides to do a long-term rental. Because I've had some of them say, well, if you're going to, require an inspection every year, if you're going to require all these things, you basically treat me like a short-term rental. I'm just going to do a short-term rental. And if they do that, then we lose that long-term tenant. We lose someone that's going to live there for at least a year, and we're now getting someone that's there for 2 or 3 days. So what I would propose for the long-term rental issue is that we do a minimal business fee, license fee, so we just know where they are, we can keep track, and we have that, and we do away with that yearly inspection requirement thing that was, causing a lot of that. So
unless there's a safety
but
concern
I do want to have
for it.
something in there. Yeah, I do want to have some. I think it's smart to have something in there that if there's a safety concern, if that's either through a complaint, or if it's just random, or just for some reason, I mean, safety needs to get in there if they need to get in there. So I don't want to just, they can't be barred from it. But that would be my proposal.
And who
Y'all can chime in
initiates,
on that.
who initiates the inspection? Do we do it, or do we permit them to have a qualified or certified inspector?
I'm not sure.
I think that what we were moving to was complaint-based inspection, correct?
Right.
So it wasn't gonna be.
Okay.
Right, that's what we just said, complaint-based.
Right, and that's good.
The South Carolina Landlord Tenant Act provides for self-help. So it would allow you just that. If somebody complains, as a town, you can come in and enforce certain safety requirements.
I got you. I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna need you to be cool, please.
This is our retreat.
We're just chatting, man. We're talking. I appreciate it, man. So, just give me a call.
Yeah.
We'll have some public comment at the end. How about that? So that's kind of my idea. Like I said, I know you work in real estate. How does that sound? Because like I said, the last thing I want to do is make it erroneous and difficult on the landlord. So, I mean, where are y'all at on that?
No, I think you and I just talked about it also. I think, it's a complaint-based situation. But then again, at that point, if there is a complaint, are we going to rely the landlord to provide us with an inspection report, or a qualified person, or are we going to have codes do it? Who do we do that?
I mean, I would probably venture to say that a licensed inspector.
A licensed
Because they're gonna go, I mean, and not that codes doesn't do it, but we're gonna further burden codes with something
If you
that,
expect
that
the
they can look
landlord
at
to
that
do it, then they can just
inspection, then
check
codes
off and say, okay,
becomes
it's done, and-
who our go-to is, yeah.
Or if they check it off, then when we have our code enforcement officer go back and verify it.
That's
is the
right.
question,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I don't think we further burden codes, and it's something that
So we
the
just not gonna
landlord's
take
planning
it's
for
not the
anyway.
honor system, okay, I said, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z corrected, and then bam, it's done, but it has to be verified. Or we get a certified inspector to report.
I think staff is fine with the modification, we just need to change the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, yeah,
And
because
we
that
don't wanna
ordinance is
overwhelm
old,
either.
and I think we need to bring it up to speed.
So
We're good with your.
are we all on the
Complaint-based.
same page?
Complaint-based, yeah, I think we're in agreement there.
Sherry?
Staff got marching orders? You know what that means? And you think that's?
I think
that'll
that's
be-
reasonable as
Okay.
we're gonna make it, right? I mean.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. And that's what I
and
want
then
to do
puts-
is make it reasonable.
It puts the onus, like
Weren't there some other
Daryl's saying,
concerns that they had?
with the landlord,
Weren't
the
there some other
owner.
concerns that
perfect.
they had?
They just didn't like the inspection process.
That was the biggest piece that we had to do with the inspection
Yeah.
process? Because we said there has to be a meeting of the mind, and we would meet in the middle of the road, where,
And it's the wording that was in
Okay.
there that needed to be.
Because I know there was a lot of discussion, heated discussion for over a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, we promised that we were gonna discuss that and hopefully come to some meeting of the mind as to how we're going to approach this moving forward.
I just think we have to rewrite the whole thing because of the
Right.
wording that's
But-
in there,
but
so much
particularly
wording.
that
You're
piece,
correct.
okay.
And they will do that, so I just want to make sure we're
Yep.
good.
We're
And that, you
good.
think that's
Okay.
reasonable
I'm
for?
done.
good.
Staff is good with it. We're
And
good
so,
with it.
but I would be remiss if and I'll just mention and say kind of my piece on short-term rentals, because we just spoke about it. And again, it goes back to everything we just talked about up here, community. And it really, and I will say this, we go to the municipal association, my position on that has not changed. I believe that the evidence is clear that when you live in a coastal tourist area, if you do not put some sort of cap on short-term rentals, eventually they will overtake a community. I've heard it from many, many other communities. We've seen the growth just in here.
What's that, 25%?
And me personally, I can just speak, and what really hit it home for me was last holiday season, I saw with my own eyes, and this made it real. When Halloween and Christmas time, downtown, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th Street, especially Halloween, that was the place to go. Every house was lit up, kids were all over the place, and Christmas time too. And I went down for Halloween this time, and I was on 9th Street, and it was not the same. It was very, very, very different.
I was dressed as a vampire, my house was decorated.
A few houses were lit up, and I talked to one of the, someone that lives on that street. I said, well, where's everybody at? And they literally go, that's a short-term rental, that's a short-term rental, and they pointed to about 6 on that street. And it really just hit that home to me that within the time that I've been here, I've seen I've seen those streets go from places that are filled with people that live there, kids are there, families are there, to now they're mini hotels. And short-term rentals have their place, but if we are serious about community and people knowing each other, and then I think we need to address that seriously and bring it back up. Like I said, I know we did it a couple years ago, but times are changing, and I think you made a statement at last retreat that every time a house sells in the village, for the most part, as soon as it sells, somebody comes and gets a short-term rental license. So every time that happens, we lose a house that someone could live in, that, children could play in, that could be someone that, could join a board or commission, start a business, and at what point are we not a community? Is it 25% short-term rentals? Is it 30%? I don't know the answer to that, but if you do put some sort of cap, anyone that has a short-term rental now is grandfathered in, they have nothing to worry about. And if we ever need to adjust it, we can always lift it up. We can never go back. So that's just one, I just wanted to say that. I didn't want us to go over long-term rentals and not talk about short-term rentals.
Well, I want to chime in on this also, because I know that we have folks watching us and so forth also. And for the record, I want to go on the record also, we didn't oppose, the short-term rental situation. It was how it was presented, and we never had an opportunity as a council to discuss it in a workshop session, and it was put on an agenda for us to take action on without prior discussing it.
I remember that.
Or getting public input. It was a process that we disagreed with. We did not disagree with the short-term rental. I agree that we need to approach it. I think we need to take it on as like we did with the tree ordinance also. But we need to do it where we get public input and where council is not blindsided by something being put on an agenda for us to take action on without discussion.
Absolutely.
And that's my take. I hope the public understands that.
Yeah, and looking, it's like we talked this morning about the H 953, we're waiting to see what the state does. The state might take control of it anyway. But, we just need to be ready with whatever we're gonna do in case they say, okay, we're gonna put it back and let the communities do it. But if the state takes it, in
It's
that,
out of our hands.
we're really kinda out of what we say.
Well, we'll know that in May,
Yep,
because their session will end, and it's the end of the two-year session, so any bill that does not pass,
it's dead.
it's dead. It has to start over again. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I just wanted to say that because it really hit home to me personally this holiday season when I went down on those streets, and I could it was a visual representation. It wasn't numbers. It wasn't any. I could look at the streets of Port Royal and see them be different. And so I just wanted to bring that up and talk
Well, you
about
should have
it.
been here 20 years ago,
I
when
got-
all the kids were up and down the streets.
I was in high school.
Thank you.
Yeah, there wasn't short-term rental. Airbnb
I was
wasn't
in my
invented.
prime of life.
You still are, baby. All right. So we've got long-term rentals knocked out, and so is the council in agreement with, we'll bring up
We'll
short-term
talk about
rentals after this session and see
After the
if the
session,
state
yeah,
does anything.
exactly, see what goes
Because
on
if they
there.
do something,
Absolutely,
if
we need to
they,
talk
yeah,
about
right, if they take it out of our hands, they take it out of our hands, and there's nothing we
And
can
if
do.
they don't, then
But if
we-
they don't, then I think it'd be appropriate if everyone's
agree.
okay with
Yeah.
everybody on board with bringing it back up after
Yep.
the general
We didn't have
session.
an issue with bringing it back up. We did, it was
Okay.
just, like I said.
It was the way.
I'm not sure, we'll know something by May from the state, whether,
If it gets signed into law.
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's when I say, see what happens with the state. This is at the end of this session, which closes in May. If it doesn't make it to the governor's desk, it's not law, and all those bills are dead, and they gotta start all back over. And so, if they pass something on short-term rentals at the state level, then yeah, you're right, we can't do anything. So, I don't want us to start spinning our wheels if we
Correct.
lose it anyways. So, but come May, if the bill has not made it to the governor's desk, then it's still open to communities.
That's fine.
Absolutely.
Right, and we need to know, have we had complaints, because, we have our point system in line, has that been working? What's going on? I mean, are we really getting complaints about short-term rentals?
But not only that, we
I
talking
mean-
about 25% growth from 80 some odd to 100.
Yeah, so we need to
And that's-
know,
that's
is that a problem?
Actually, sorry. Chief, I don't know if we even have a system set up where y'all get a call about a short-term rental nuisance, and then I mean, obviously we get the reports, but I don't receive them, so I wouldn't even know, like, to keep track, or tell Lex to keep track of business license. or
Well-
anything
Well,
like
the
that.
problem is the point system is based upon convictions.
Okay.
Right, that's true, that's true,
Gotcha.
very true.
So most of the time, we just show up and say, be quiet.
Exactly.
And we try to be, like we talked about earlier, and not,
Yeah.
Try not to-
resolution instead of conviction, so.
Educate.
Educate, resolution, absolutely, so.
But, and I live on the street, Kevin was talking
Mhm.
about. And it is, I mean, it's a totally different place than it was a few years ago.
Like just a few years ago.
Just a few years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have 4 next to me, so.
yeah, absolutely.
I said, no, they're all at trunk or treat.
Yep, so it's a thing, and then, again, so I think we're on the same page, which is great. Long-term rentals, staff knows what to do for that ordinance. Short-term rentals, we'll see what happens at the state level and bring it back in unless they pass a law in Columbia, so. All right, well, we got through the fun stuff. So, C, garbage utility ordinance update.
Garbage utility ordinance.
Anything on garbage?
Waste management,
I
waste program.
think that there is account issues that they're trying to address.
And they be collecting them.
We will be having a presentation at the workshop this next month by Joe, because he was talking about changing up the schedule a little bit, so he'll have that presentation with you guys. That was just really, I don't have too much to explain on or to discuss at this point, but I did want to let you know for the last couple of months we've been working on the utility ordinance. Hasn't been changed since we adopted it in the 80s, so it is already being worked on, and in a few months you will see that with all the updates between what we're doing with the bulk and pickup, all kinds of stuff. So you'll be seeing that here shortly.
Okay. The garbage, Brooke, if you maybe just mention to them, the guys that are coming around picking up, I stood and watched them do mine. They literally threw it up, threw the can down, the wheel went flying off. There's a big rut, I got pictures, a rut where the thing went flying. That's the second time in a month that's happened. And I have to go find my wheel, put it back on, roll it up, and I mean, come
One
on.
thing with Zach, we can pull the video and figure out who the driver was and who the personnel was.
Well, good, because I have a video of what my yard looks
Yeah,
like.
if you can send it to us, we'll deal with it.
Oh,
wow.
But if we have the date too, all the trucks now have cameras in them.
They do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so we can figure out specifically who it was.
And they are very responsive whenever
Are
we
they?
let them know, and,
Well, I think I
even if
need
you
a
make
new
the
one. I
phone
mean,
call
the
as
wheels
well.
broke
I
off
can
twice
actually
a
call
month.
Jeff, and that happened to me.
And
They brought
it's
me a new
still,
one, so I got-
I'm piecing it together and taking it to the
It's
road.
not gonna ever stay on there, but.
I'll go through it, huh?
It's not gonna ever stay off, because I had to call.
Yeah, we can roll the video.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. When does
Let her get a new one
Are they
first.
doing the same day yet?
Not yet.
That's what he's going to be
That's what he's
discussing
discussing the same day.
of when that will
Okay,
start.
and that'll be great.
I haven't been getting
Trash
any
and recycling.
complaints, so
Valentine's
that's a
Day.
good thing.
All
too.
right, nobody's
Valentine's,
Yeah, I haven't gotten any complaints.
Valentine's Day.
called me. Everybody seems to be happy. Everybody's trash is getting picked up.
No, it's been good.
No, because I can tell you, we had an incident with him recently, he dealt with the driver immediately.
Yes, very quickly.
Well, Valentine's Day was mine.
Please get her a new
All
trash
right.
can.
Please do. No, I need a new recycle bin.
Well, you use a wheel and a cutter.
We good on garbage?
Yes.
Wasn't he gonna propose a change in pickup dates and all that stuff?
That's what she was
That's what she
saying.
said.
Okay.
Joe's gonna come in front of council
Recycling and
soon,
pick
yeah,
up all the
and
same.
do it on the same day.
That'd be so cool,
That would be
you know?
great, absolutely.
In the same truck, recycling and.
Y'all don't get
Or
rid
no,
of
no,
for your
No,
coffee.
he didn't. He said they will stagger it and he'll have.
They might end up in the same place, but
So that they will not run into each other. Right.
Y'all know the garbage truck was
I do
when
listen
they
to
come and I hadn't even had my coffee.
We all got that email from Norma.
And then tear my trash can up.
Remember?
yeah, oh yeah, those two.
That's who got dealt with.
Okay.
Well, that's great to hear that he's responsive. I mean,
Yes, I'm
that's
glad to hear that our residents are catching that and letting us know, because we don't see everything.
Yeah,
And she caught that and it got dealt with, so.
apparently he got an earful.
She called that, he called him.
Commingled recycling and
Oh, yeah.
All right,
regular garbage.
so we're good on
Put it in the same
garbage.
thing.
Presentation on the
Norma's like,
speed
no, that's not
limit.
what's supposed to happen.
Do we have a presentation on
Just a
speed
discussion.
limits? Okay, gotcha. Well, first off, I mean, what we just did on Paris Avenue, I think is amazing. That was super cool. That was great. That was awesome.
What we gonna do about that street?
So, and again, open this up, I mean, really, and when we say throughout town, we mean the village, we mean the towns, the roads that we own and that we're allowed to change those speed limit signs whenever we can. We hear from residents all the time about people speeding now.
Right here on
You know,
Patterson.
there is, you know, enforcement, that's a part of that, but at the same time, I personally believe 25 miles an hour is a little fast for some of these streets, some of these 8, 9, these neighborhood roads. You know, you got kids playing, and I mean, and they're short little area. I mean, you're going, I mean, from between some of the streets are, you know, a couple hundred yards and, 25 miles an hour. So I would propose we do 22 miles an hour down Paris Avenue, 15 miles an hour throughout the rest of the village.
I thought you wanted 20.
Throw it out there.
What,
I'll throw it out. Like I said, I'm just 15's a number. It's a starting.
But I thought we had this discussion before, when we initially, when they came to us and presented the 22 miles an hour, that we were going to drop
Yep.
those residents.
So now we just need to figure out what number, what we're gonna drop to.
I'll tell you, the difference between 15 and 20 for wrecks, pedestrian-oriented wrecks, is significantly different for injury and mortality.
Right.
The question then is,
Unfortunately.
you have to also look at, are there areas where there needs to be a little bit of redesign so that people are induced to drive slower without having to consciously decide to do it. Because that, obviously the enforcement education is important, but the engineering is just as important, if not twice as important. So I mean, I definitely encourage 20 or lower, 100%. I was talking to Kevin a little bit, there's national awareness programs called 20's Plenty, things like that, where you can tout that as a thing that the town is doing. It's important in saving lives. But again, there is that design element of it too, to make sure that the streets are designed, and that doesn't mean fully re-engineering an entire Madrid Avenue or anything like that. It could be doing some of those curb extension type things at the certain intersections, like has already been done as a pilot on Paris Avenue, and is designed on Paris Avenue as well, as long as they're in the context of a neighborhood rather than a main street. But those are some of the pieces you want to think about with that. But overall, I think lower speed is, I can give you the data on exactly, if you're going 25, here's how many people are killed or seriously injured versus 20 versus 15, and it's significant.
And again, I'll just, like I said, at the, the consensus of council, of course, but I mean, again, traffic safety and overall residential safety. And you're in the village, you're downtown, what's the rush? I'm okay with 15 miles an hour, and unless anyone objects to that. I mean, why? I mean, we're talking about, our people walking around, so.
George, what are you up doing the shadow loss? What's the speed limit out there?
25.
25?
Yeah.
So, I'll open the floor. Anyone, like I said, I think.
What would be the significance of 15 versus 20? Like you said, he had a reason, or what you said, 20 is what?
20's Plenty is like a nationwide program,
20 is
similar to
plenty.
Vision
See,
Zero.
So there's something, 20 is plenty, and I like the lower speed limits
I'm just
also.
saying,
but-
safety. I'm not just because it doesn't rhyme.
I know, but I'm not looking for. I'm not looking for something to rhyme.
Come on.
I'm not looking for something to rhyme. But again, even at 15, how realistic are they? They're going to abide
Let's ask the
by
chief.
that.
Alive at 1.5?
Stay alive at 1.5. There you go.
My daughter took that. My daughter took that.
We got a new program.
I mean, I support it also
Yes,
because
and-
I supported also the reduction, but as I said, coming together, we decide what is reasonable also, because I see it every day right here on Paris, I mean, just blow by you on here, and this is a more open space, and I see it on those back streets, and we've heard from the people on the 11th and 12th Street, about the speeders and so forth, because the majority of those people don't even live in Port Royal.
Chief, from the police perspective, what's your take on it?
Well, in my 37 years, if you give somebody a speed limit at 40,
It's going to give
they're
them.
gonna do 45.
They're going to do 45s.
Or they're gonna do
So if we
50.
give them 15, then
Then
it'll be 20.
It's okay.
So if we give them 15, they'll do 20.
I say
20.
you just set it at 15.
Okay, and we see that's
15
what we want. That's what we want to hear.
So this is between 20 and 30, and I would imagine that then 25 falls in between. But if you're hit by a vehicle traveling at 20 miles an hour, 9 out of 10 pedestrians survive. So if you say 15 and they're going 20, 9 out of 10 pedestrians survive. If it's set at 25, people are traveling 30 most of the time, 5 out of 10 pedestrians survive.
4 more.
There you go.
So it cuts it in half.
So there you go.
Threshold.
Stay alive at 1.5.
There you
it.
go.
I like that.
Is everybody
Stay
okay?
alive at 1.5.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. See,
You good with that?
See, it rhymes. I like that.
All right. So you got
You
that?
okay with that?
That's hilarious. Good
Yes,
job
yeah,
on that
I
one.
like
I think
getting.
that's a great
I like getting.
Good job
I
on
like
that
getting
one,
input
man.
from staff too.
No, that
Add
was
something else.
yes, sir.
We've built all these sidewalks, and people are still walking in the road. So,
Like Mary Beth
Okay.
did today.
I'm not saying today.
I know, I'm like, he was right
Like Mary
beside
Beth did
me.
today.
He was right
No,
beside me.
I see that all the time.
I was
Chief,
next
yes,
to
sir.
the chief.
want to make sure Jerry was in on that too, because he was in the street with me.
Okay. No, I see it. Like you said, we build these sidewalks, nice new sidewalks. I mean, I know, they're just telling on each
Well,
other.
Daryl dimed me out, and he was doing it with us.
Yeah, she just dimed me out.
Daryl dimed me out, and he
Bitching on
was a part of it.
Teamwork.
All right.
I will have to say, Jerry said, get on the sidewalk.
I said we need to lead by example, follow Chief. The Chief was on the sidewalk.
We spent good money on this sidewalk.
That's right. Let's
Very
use
good.
them.
Yeah. All right, up next, Sands Beach Task Force.
That's a big one. I like that.
What do you need from us on that?
I think we need to, a couple things. I think we're advertising. I think we are. We probably take some of the applicants we have
Applicants that we
for the
have.
planning commission. And then.
How many are we doing? 5, 7? What's the number?
3? No.
3.
No, that's too
I
much.
would do 5.
5, okay.
is fine. And then, I will probably engage a landscape architect to work with the group.
And just so everyone's clear,
Flesh out the concepts. And initially, I'll be honest with you, with the first iteration of the Parks and Recreation Commission, I wanted to bring in a landscape architect to maybe have them consider some master plan concepts, but that never took off. So I think this group, you really need to understand that they are primarily focused on the development of Sand Beach Park, and that we will authorize the use of a landscape architect to formalize whatever the recommendations may be. But ultimately, it will be this council that makes the final decision on what that park will become. And beyond, and I know we're focused on the park itself, but we've already started talking about some bigger concept things. The boardwalk through some of the periphery pieces that Safe Harbor wants us to consider, as well as a potential boardwalk that would run adjacent to or parallel to the road where it narrows and gets you down to Sands Beach. So I think a mission specific with professional assistance.
I think that would be amazing. We're talking with the land swap, that land that we just got down on the side of the marsh, having some walkway through that. So people are not in that road. I mean, that road doesn't have a sidewalk, so and that's literally, that's bicycles, people going to the beach, that's pushing strollers. That's babies, kids. So if you could get them off that street and over into that park, and they could get all the way down to Sands Beach right there and never have to touch the road, I think that
Some
would be,
picnic tables or something.
that would be great.
Yeah, we need a liaison.
Representing liaison, right?
I'll do it.
All right. Okay.
Well, this next one will be easy.
Well, we've talked about it throughout the whole day. We got the tree ordinance.
Get that again.
It sounded
Thought we
like
did it.
Noah said he's putting together some recommendations to bring before council. Do we want to get into it and discuss now, or do we want to wait on those?
Let's
I'd like to see his recommendations.
Let's wait for the
Yeah, I would
recommendation.
wait, because I don't have specifics that are gonna be worth.
You just gonna dial it back a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, I don't want to, we start talking and
Couple
confusing him.
items that'll make a
Let's hear
difference
what
about
he
her,
Gotta wait on that.
Okay,
basically.
so we were, with the tree ordinance, we're waiting on recommendation from Noah? Perfect. All right. FOIA.
Better be good. No pressure.
Just like last time.
FOIA presentation. Can you remind, what is FOIA?
Freedom of Information Act.
Lisa and Brooke love
You
that.
know
I
who
think
came
what
out of
I'm intending to do in the next budget cycle is separate out a separate expense line item that identifies all of the costs that we have incurred due to responding to the significant number of freedom of information requests we get, including all of the follow-ups. It's probably worth almost $1 million of taxes and what we're paying in legal fees to respond to these FOIs.
And with those costs, will you include, staff time as well too?
Oh, yeah.
Staff time, attorney's fees,
Yes.
paper, the whole thing.
Yeah, and you've heard about how busy we are already. When we continue to answer the same question asked 5 different ways, it gets a little burdensome.
Aggravating.
So, but we have an obligation to respond, and we do. But we want to do everything by the book, completely legal, and within the timeframes. We had one recently where if the thing was presented as an appeal, we were dealing with appeal, then figured out on the second or third page there was an FOI stuck in the middle. We're like, all right, so then we had to scramble to deal with that. So, just wanted to make it on ground. How many FOIs we handled probably this year?
We see the spreadsheets.
Yeah. 5 right now. And they're not, you know, hey, one report. It's, you have texts and emails and thoughts.
We're hoping to have a standardized system of where they fill out the form. That way it tells us how they want it back. I mean, it keeps it very clean and simple. But I guess there's a lot of gray area legally for the state. And so if you simply put a statement of as per South Carolina FOIA, that as an email, that can be considered a FOIA as well. So,
And I don't want to know any specifics. Just a general question. You said you got 5 going on now?
We have 5, we've had 5 FOIAs since 2024. I'm currently working with 3.
So is it one person 5 times or 5 people one time?
It's 2 people twice, 2 people twice and 1 single.
So, I mean,
But I'm going to try to delineate those expenses, kind of break them out for you to see what we're doing. And probably include and flesh that out a little bit more in terms of staff time dedicated to those.
Right.
Because we have to quantify, you know, how many hours involved, research. And if you ask us for a permit from 2012, you know, we've got to go dig through archives, go through things.
But you charge, I mean, legally, we charge.
Yeah, but we can't cover the legal fees. There are allowable expenses, staff time and copy costs, those sorts of things. I just, you know.
no, that'll be a good number to know. I think it'll be very eye-opening. We said about $1 million
Yeah.
for that. So that'll be
About
good.
naming it, but decide on naming it.
So. Okay, up next, Safe Harbor, as we saw, that's the number one must-do that we have up there. As I think we're all aware, we're kind of in negotiation phase with them. I think we're waiting on a response. So I don't know, I mean, if there's anything else anybody has any questions or anything we should chime in or talk about?
We'll see.
I think we're working on it.
Results.
You got anything you think we should address?
They have, our message has been delivered.
Message has been delivered, waiting on a response.
We'll see.
And this is it, we sent a letter, and then they sent a letter back with their negotiations, and then we've sent a counter back to them.
Yes, sir.
And that's where we are.
And I believe we asked for a response by our next, do we say by our next?
It's be a week from Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be before then.
Okay, all right, and we'll know, and then, like I said, we'll discuss that at that time, and again, just to reiterate, these are our partners, it's a relationship, you know, there's anyone that's been in those highs and lows, but it takes communication, and I think we are both, I mean, again, I don't, they're not going anywhere, and we're definitely not going anywhere. We've been here before them, and we'll be here after them, so, yep, so I'm not worried about that, and I love that we're all unified in it, like, that's really good, so. All right, up next, employee handbook.
Before
didn't
we
know we had
do
one.
employee handbook, I want to show you how fast with the Waste Pro area received a message that it will be replaced today, and the driver will be talked to.
From Joe? Oh, what a guy.
Great deal.
Wow.
And their office has gone that way as
Great.
well when they
Good.
hear of what's going on.
You will get a new wheel.
I'll get a new wheel. I don't mind paying my bill on time.
Be a big deal now.
Well, thank you. That's amazing. Wow,
That's
that-
quick response. Thank you.
Yeah.
Employee handbook, probably Van and I will both touch on it, but we keep the holiday schedule I sent last year. I made up a spreadsheet to show you what the difference is between county, city, Hilton Head, everybody in the area. And we ask if there's certain days that we can close down, but by opening up the employee handbook, that would be one of the items that we'd be able to update, as well as there's a couple other sections that we wanted to just kind of clean up a little bit. So that will be another item that
Yeah,
will be open.
it just needs a periodic legal review to keep pace with whatever's changed. Personnel-wise, we're an at-will employment state.
Right.
So obviously that disclaimer is very prominently displayed, and so we have to be very careful. But there's no implication of a contract.
Right.
So that's included, but, things like per diems and things like that. think the per diem is still the same per diem it was when I was
Based on the
here in
state?
2002. So probably something we'll look at. Grievance policy, we'll need to update, take a look at. Chris, is there anything else you think we need in there? No.
I ain't even off the top of my head.
Yeah. But it just, we're just gonna send it through.
So I'm being in line with the state.
Yeah. So when we had streamlined it a little bit before based upon a model that was provided to us. But there were some things that we thought probably needed to be in my opinion, re-included in the update, educational reimbursements, things like that. That's all we really have on that. Just wanted to
Okay,
do
all right, now, thank you. Like I said, that's y'all, every day, you're the ones that are in this building every single day, so you let us know. All right, commissions, done, redevelopment, done. Do we have miscellaneous? Is there anything that we've missed from council that you'd like to speak about now?
Are you at miscellaneous? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am, well, from council, I'm gonna open up public comment in just a minute.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm having trouble hearing, and I have my hearing aids all the way.
Oh, okay.
so
Sorry,
I'll
yes.
motion for you.
bear
So, yeah,
with me.
anything,
Not council business, but I think, man, we talked about the workshop, including a community.
Yeah, that's something we'll have that to the agenda.
Okay. Celebration, how's it, the 150-year celebration going on? We good?
You ever run?
Yeah.
Yep. Or a walk.
They doing
A walk for me.
We're gonna walk.
are they doing a party that night?
A sponsor.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so just the runs, okay, okay.
A show ring.
Are any other events planned throughout the year yet for that?
I believe there's a storytelling festival in October that we received a flyer for, and then that's all that I'm aware of.
The big ones to run, okay. Let's try and get a birthday cake or something for the end of it, something.
Size of this table.
Yeah, just, yeah,
You can get a huge one.
just something, it is a birthday
U-shaped
party. I mean,
cake.
it's-
Yeah, the birds get a birthday cake.
That's
Well,
right.
yeah, it's
Birds
a
get a
birthday
party.
party, let's do something for it at the end there, but,
Chicken biscuit. Jerry
I have
wants chicken
nothing.
Yeah,
biscuit.
Okay.
Ben said he'll make it.
He'll be
All
up
right.
at 5.
Yep,
Wait.
Ben said he's got
So
it.
we're
How early
good?
do you have to get up,
We good?
Bob?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm fine. sir.
okay, all right, you good? At this time, I'll open it up to public comment.
Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, how are you?
Colleen.
Yes, ma'am,
Johnson.
yes, ma'am.
You've seen me too often.
HOA president.
But yes, but I love Port Royal, but I have a scary place where I walk, and it's around the wetlands. Now, I heard that if I bring it up, they may feed me to the alligators. But there are, I counted about 17 very large gators that I love seeing. But I've also seen small children playing along the flat side. I talked to the guy that you guys directed me to after a meeting back in the fall, and he said, a couple weeks, you'll see it, a fence is going up, no fence. And I've been looking it up, and and it's town property, I understand, because I've been digging. And I also have read that if the town is aware of the danger, they could be held liable for punitive damages. Am I right there?
Well, we don't ask a legal question.
And if you make no effort to correct something,
So remove the alligators?
I'm talking about putting a little fence up.
Well, we put some fence up, but we can't fence the entire Cypress wetlands.
I'm hearing.
We can't fence that entire Cypress wetlands unless it's a major.
Right.
um,
But there's a
dollar
flat
amount.
part
The flat.
that is from here to you, from where the gators are to where the path is. And I understand from experts when I took a tour that those gators can run 35 miles an hour. I can't run 10 miles an hour.
You zigzag.
If you're talking about the flat area that's by
That's
the
what it takes.
YMCA where you saw the gator on the
Yeah, he was
asphalt.
walking the trail
like
that one
that.
time, yeah.
And I was thinking also, in those low lines and that sections, the fence that we have, that we've just erected at the parks, that mesh fence that goes down to the ground, something like that in those particular areas, just as an added buffer. Because, I mean, we clearly saw, and I'm out there, and she's right, Colleen's right. I took my son and we walked last Saturday after having breakfast and walked out there. We just started, look at all these gators out here, you know? But of course, when you're on the ramp, that's fine, but when you're out there behind the YMCA, in that flat area.
That's exactly where I'm
Then
saying.
if you have something like
I'm saying
that, we just put up there at Casablanca Park and at the Naval Heritage, something like that as a buffer, it'll give a little peace of mind.
Also, the fact if you enter from Paris Avenue, when you come down, the first thing you see is a sign that says, "Notice possible alligators."
Possible.
When you
Not
see see
possible.
17 big ones and you know there's smaller ones
They're out
in
there.
there, it's more than a possibility that there's a gator in there.
Yeah.
So
I knew that
maybe
that would-
We just
danger
look at the areas,
gators
yeah.
or something like that. And when I did mention it on Friends at Port Royal, their response was, "It's not a zoo." No, it's not a zoo, I understand that. But if you know it's a threat to public, then the town, I feel, should be responsible to push it. Now, I also talked to a police officer here at the last council meeting, and he said, "Our hands are tied until somebody gets maimed or killed." Ain't that
We're
nice?
hoping that we won't get to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got signs up. We haven't had anybody, God forbid, we hadn't had any attacks or anything, right?
No, but we have, as I said, seen them walking on the asphalt.
Not,
And that's
I
just,
understand.
you
We're good to hear that.
yeah, I know.
I've been thinking about it, and I wasn't even gonna come, but I said, at least I can say that I tried.
Yeah.
Not that anybody's gonna do anything, but now I won't feel guilty because I did speak up.
Well, we
And
appreciate
that's all I
you.
have to
And
say.
maybe there's something we can do. I mean, we have to look at it and see what we can do.
Yeah. I just
Just
don't
look at
want
the-
to wait
Sure.
until somebody
Area.
gets
Take a look
hurt.
at the fencing, yeah.
Little areas would be, yeah.
Thank you,
Like you
guys.
said, the
Thank you.
mesh,
Between
the
his,
mesh.
just behind him onto that YMCA, like that area back there.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, we were talking to Chief.
All right, well, thank you.
Not talking to Chief, because Chief's not gonna do it, but still.
Last time I said something about the
Work day,
gator.
Chief.
I got chastised for 2 years because there was a huge gator in there and I was scared of the children of the Y, and I was told that parents should be watching their children. I said, well, if it's your child and it gets eaten by an alligator,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
that would be.
But-
That large, he eats the other, he eats the small alligators.
That's right.
That'd
But
be-
I mean,
that'd be
I
horrific.
did bring it up years ago.
It's a big one out there.
Well, I
Parents
can't
need to
run
watch
that
their
fast, so-
But there's a lot of them out there.
It is dangerous, and we do have a large
No,
amount,
it would be horrible.
a lot of gators.
All right. Public comment?
I just wanted to say, apologize. I didn't realize, I'm young and dumb, and
No.
didn't realize that these public events were not public for discussion.
No,
so,
absolutely.
I apologize for that.
No, I appreciate
I don't
you.
want to be the outburst guy.
No, I appreciate you
We
being here.
want
The
public
outburst
comment, it's
guy.
just there's a certain time. that
Yeah, I
we-
appreciate you being here, brother.
Yeah,
We
so I
appreciate you,
apologize.
Big. You've been here since this morning.
Yeah.
That's serious, man. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Appreciate that.
I know, I went to Carolina Tavern,
I wrote it down.
so patronage. So apologies, I
It's
think
okay.
the long-term rental stuff, don't disagree. My outburst already stated my opinions on stuff,
Cool.
so.
So you
Thank
heard
you.
our comments about that?
I did.
vote?
I think it's
No
great.
input? You okay with that?
Cool.
And Eric did a great job of protecting me there. Again, I'm a rookie too.
Yeah.
And when I hear public stuff, a lot of us in military, when you give public and you put it out there, we understand that. So again, on me too, and I appreciate, again, Eric, not throwing me under the bus, but I'm an infantry guy at heart, so I'm gonna throw myself under a bus most days when it comes to that. So I appreciate you and the input, like Kevin said, man. Jerry too, you've been here all day helping. And just being here helps us really keep it
I think it's
I
a
didn't want to work with
retreat.
that.
He was probably walking in the street too, just in
Right.
case. you
Yeah, like I said, these
I know he
retreats,
was.
it's just, it's
Not
really,
me, Chief was behind
It's for you guys.
it's a time, yeah, to push the meeting forward.
Input from
But absolutely, man. Thank you.
But that's
Thank
why
you.
we like
Thank
the crowd out there, so people can at the end.
you. All right.
We're good.
Closing comments? We'll start with
this one.
Mr. Ashmore. Any closing comments?
No, I'm good, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Any closing comments, Councilman?
I think this was an excellent, very productive
We're pretty
retreat.
much all on the same page. because we- Don't you feel like, Kevin?
Thanks, staff.
Any closing
for all they
comments,
do.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Appreciate you.
No, thank you, sir.
Any closing
You too, man.
comments? Nothing for your first one? All right, anything from staff? Staff's good? I'll just say, I'll close with this. I think we are so blessed. I truly believe we live in the greatest country in the world, in the greatest state in the country, in the greatest county in the state, and in the best town in that county. So I love this council. I love that we're united. Our staff's amazing, the things that y'all do. It's really, every time we have this meeting and we really get to hear and try to understand y'all's day-to-day and what y'all go through, chief and fire department, and it's amazing. And we interact with our residents, and this job, you hear a lot of the negative, and sometimes, that's just part of the job, but I think we have a lot to be proud of and a lot to be happy for and a lot to be thankful for. So thank y'all for being here. Got it done by 2:45. Motion to adjourn.
So.